And with that, the West Coast swing has wrapped up at Phoenix. Another race that I was really looking forward to watch. Honestly, all three of the West Coast swing races were pretty. I was looking forward to watch them for different reasons, of course. In the case of Phoenix, I really wanted to see how the racing will fare because, after all, this is a championship venue, and this race could give us a taste of how the racing of the next gen could be in come championship time. So, how did the racing go? Let's talk about it. Alright, so for the Xfinity race, entering this race, there wasn't really much to talk about except for of course, the Ryan Sieg, Ty Gibbs, and NASCAR. They really tried to push that narrative. Fox even made a skit during the race that, again, it really annoyed me, especially since I made a video this past week over about how the beef narrative and NASCAR needs to stop pushing this narrative because it's already over. Like, before the race, moments before the race, we saw Ty Gibbs and Ryan Sieg be on the same on the same truck in the pre-race. They started on the same road together, I believe. Ryan Sieg started third, Ty Gibbs started fourth. They both started on the second road, so they had to take that truck ride around the track during pre-race together, and it seemed like they had cleared everything up. And sure, Fox just kind of made mention of that. The broadcast booth made mention of that. It was pretty annoying, honestly, but enough of me going on that tangent. Turbine was on the pole. He started on the pole, but as soon as the cars took off, he had a steering issue, and for a moment it seemed like he will lose his starting position. He will start from the rear, but because the steering wheel failure was considered a safety issue, there was no rush. I mean, the team they hastily repaired the car back, but because it was deemed a safety issue, they let Turbine keep the pole, so no harm, no foul. Anthony Alfredo also had a transmission issue, the same issue that affected them in practice. It affected them during the race. They never even had a chance at a good finish. They spent a good chunk of the race in the garage. I believe they spent the entire first stage in the garage repairing that issue. So yeah, that really ruined their chances of a good finish. And with not that many cautions, because this race was pretty tame, yeah, that really, I believe we finished outside, below 35th, I believe we finished. So yeah, really tough break for Anthony Alfredo for what has otherwise been a great start to the season. Speaking of drivers that caught my attention, Parker Ratzlaff. This is his first Xfinity race, 18 years old. He qualified 6th, but he quickly fell out of the top 20 by the first caution. He got a few run-ins during the race with Landon Castle, Jeremy Clements. I mean, he got raced by a rookie. That's just how it is when you're making your first start in this series. It's all about gaining experience and earning respect from these veterans. But I believe for a first showing, he did very well. Like, all he had to do was just gain experience and keep the car in one piece. He eventually took it to the garage with 38 laps to go, which is really funny since he's driving the 38 car. Took it to the garage with 38 laps to go. But yeah, what matters is that he kept the car in one piece. And for a small team like RSS Racing, that really matters a lot. Riley Herbst, another guy who was really had a decent start to the season. Again, another driver who just could not catch a break. Say what you want about Herbst, but that accident was not on him. He crashed out early in stage 1 because he had a brake failure on the 98 car. That was a tough hit, so and happy is alright, but to those people who said, "Oh yeah, that's Herb's fault. Riley Herbst can drive." Pump your brakes. Funnily enough, because his brakes failed. But yeah, that was on the car. That was a brake failure on the car. He has nothing. Brake failures have nothing to do with the driver. So overall, stage one, it didn't feature anything of note up until the very end when we had that great battle for the stage between Noah Gragson and Trevor Bayne. In the end, Trevor Bayne won it in a photo finish, in a similar fashion to how Daniel Hemrick won the championship over Austin Cindric last time we were at Phoenix. And then, in typical 18-team fashion, they proceed to cost Trevor Bayne multiple spots on pit road, just like at Fontana. Now, granted, Trevor Bayne, he also had his fair share of driver mistakes as he sped on pit road after stage 2. He eventually came back in stage 3 and scored a top 5, but the fact that pit road penalty after the stage 2 break, that really put him behind. If it wasn't for that, he could have been in contention for the win pretty much. On the restart, starting stage 2, Ty Gibbs, he got tapped by Josh Berry, he saved it, and the field avoids him. Just impressive work all around by everyone. Great work by Ty Gibbs, of course, on holding it, on holding the brakes, and then impressive work by the rest of the field in avoiding the spinning 54. Just great showing all around to not make this a bigger deal than it was. But yeah, overall, stage 2 was pretty tame. Again, we saw a battle towards the end of the stage. It was for second, though. It wasn't for the stage, between Justin Allgaier and Brandon Jones. Again, it was a photo finish. Allgaier got him just barely at the finish line. But yeah, from that point forward, from stage 2 onwards, it looked pretty obvious that Gragson had the best car in the field. He won. Again, he very narrowly lost out on the stage win, but to be fair, I guess, looking at how the trend has been this season, maybe it's a good thing that Gragson didn't win stage 1, because if he won stage 1 and then won stage 2 as well, who knows, then he would not have won, because he would not have won the race, because as we all know, the trend this season is if you win both stages, you're not going to win the race. But yeah, Gragson won stage 2, and I feel like with everything that has been going on this season, people are not talking about Noah Gragson enough and the hot start he's had to the season. Because in the first 3 races, he has finished 3rd, 2nd, and 2nd. And he has the car to beat right now at Phoenix to make it 4 top 3 finishes in a row. But of course, in stage 3, a new challenger showed up, John Hunter Nemechek, driving that 26 for Sam Hunt Racing. And let's talk about Sam Hunt Racing a little bit, because they are a small team, they're doing things right. They could be a playoff team. If John Hunter Nemechek was running full time, they could be a playoff team on the level of maybe Brett Moffitt in our motorsports. Now, of course, I'm not complaining about John Hunter Nemechek not being Xfinity full time. I mean, running mid-pack in Xfinity is not as good when compared to competing for championships at the Truck Series level. So, good to see John Hunter Nemechek making the most of his opportunity over at Cowboys Motorsports, even though he's had a rough start to the season there. But hopefully he turns it around. But anyways, another driver that really caught my eye, but for all the wrong reasons, was Sam Mayer. He started from the back along with his JR Motorsports teammates, Justin Allgaier and Josh Berry. As a matter of fact, the only JR Motorsports car that managed to keep his starting position was Noah Gragson, and he started 2nd on the front row, so go figure. Note, and with House, oh my gosh, I can't speak. With how fast JR Motorsports they looked like all day, I have no doubt he got a top 10, maybe a top 5 car, because all of his teammates, they were running in the top 5 for a huge portion of the race, especially towards the end of the race. And Sam Mayer, he finished outside the top 20 because he had 4 speeding penalties. He sped every time he came down pit road. On the stage 1 caution, he was busted for speeding on pit road. Same thing in stage 2, and then during the final green flag pit stop on stage 3, he was busted for speeding on pit road once again, and while serving his pass-through penalty, he got busted for speeding a 4th time. Just plain inexperience for him, just plain driver errors for him. And again, this is what I expected out of him. The first half would be a struggle for him because he was rushed to Xfinity as an 18-year-old this past season, and he only has a half season under his belt. So the first half of this season, of this full-time season, was gonna be kind of a struggle for him. I kind of figure, but I do expect the second half of the season to be more of an improvement for him. So as of right now, I don't expect really much out of Sam Mayer. In the second half of the season, as the season goes on, we will really see though that this kid start making bigger strides. I know for a fact, because if he is in the Xfinity series, if he skipped over the Truck Series and went straight to Xfinity, it's for a reason. It's because the guy has talent, and again, he just lacks the experience. It's not about the talent, it's all about the experience here. But overall, stage 3 was pretty clean. Nobody was a match for Noah Gragson. He just put on an absolute clinic and won. And this is the first Xfinity win he's won. I just realized that this is the first Xfinity race that Noah Gragson has won after a long green flag run. Like, all of his previous Xfinity wins, dating back to his first career win at Daytona back in 2020. You see Daytona, Bristol in 2020, where he dumped Allgaier for the win. There's also Darlington, Richmond, Martinsville last season. All 5 of those wins, they always came on like a late race restart or something like that. Now this win, it came on a long green flag run where he was clearly the best car of the race. And of course, in typical Noah Gragson fashion, he just had a badass victory celebration. I mean, Gragson is just a crowd pleaser. Like, this is why I love it when Noah Gragson wins. He has this rock star showman personality, and the fact that he's more mature now on the track, because the talent was always there, it just makes him all the more likable now. Of course, the guy's still gonna have his haters because some people just cannot let things go, but at this point, it is what it is. Whether you love him or hate him, you cannot deny that the guy is definitely knows how to put on a show on the track and also on victory lane when he wins. I also want to highlight the Luke Lambert effect, because ever since Dave Ellens left that team to become, I believe, the Cup Series crew chief for like the 43 over at Petty GMS, Luke Lambert, he took over the job because he specifically wanted to work with Noah Gragson, and it's definitely paying off. If you remember, I know the broadcast booth actually said this interesting fact, and of course I went to fact check it, and it is true. 10 years ago, back in 2012, as Elliott Sadler's crew chief, Luke Lambert started the season with 4 straight top 3 finishes, including a win at Phoenix. 10 years later, with Noah Gragson as the driver in the Xfinity Series, started the season, Luke Lambert, he starts the season with 4 straight top 3 finishes, including a win at Phoenix. So, good stuff to see. Noah Gragson. With this, Gragson, he has established himself as the early favorite for the title, in my personal opinion. For all of those people that had, myself included, for all of those people that had Ty Gibbs as like the preseason champion, well, it looks like he has a challenger, and a very strong one indeed. As this is what Gragson's fourth Xfinity season by this point. Sure, Ty Gibbs has the talent, but Gragson has the experience on his side, and now he has a veteran crew chief that has already developed some insane chemistry with him and those guys over at the 9 team. So yeah, watch out for that 9 team. They're gonna be a threat to win that. They're gonna be a threat to win that title. If it's not Ty Gibbs who wins that title, it's gonna most likely be Gragson. Anyway, outside of that, some highlights I wanted to mention. Daniel Suarez, he was in the booth. He spoke more Spanish in the booth compared to the race he had last season, which was also at Phoenix, funnily enough. And I really loved that, honestly, because as a Spanish speaker myself, because as you guys know, English is not my first language, but cuando Daniel Suárez habla español, eso de verdad me fascina. Yo quiero ver más de eso. Quiero ver a Suárez hablando español. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I've also seen a lot of people, and this is something that really has pissed me off, especially in the past few years. Like, I really understood it back in like 2016 because Suarez still was not was finding his steps, like learning his English and all that stuff. But by this point, it's 2022, and Suarez has been in NASCAR for what, since the Drive for Diversity days. He has been learning English for nearly a decade, and he speaks it to such a degree that everyone around him that he communicates with, they understand him. Like, I remember when Trevor Bayne won Stage 1, Suarez, he interviewed him, because, you know, they always interview like the stage winner or some other driver after, during the caution. When Trevor Bayne won Stage 1, Daniel Suarez interviewed him, and Trevor Bayne, he understood perfectly, even though Suarez spoke English like a Latino. Even though Suarez was speaking English like a Latino, Trevor Bayne, he perfectly understood what Suarez was saying, and he even responded in kind as well. So if you do not understand Daniel Suarez speaking English, that's more of a you problem, because everyone that works around Suarez and everyone that communicates with Suarez can attest to the fact that, yeah, they understand his English. So yeah, again, if you do not understand Suarez speaking English, that's more of a you problem. That's not a Suarez problem, because he speaks English perfectly. We need to stop that narrative that Suarez is a bad English speaker. He doesn't know how to speak English. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
And for the Cup race, honestly, I didn't have much to say about it leading up to it. Like the Xfinity race. Well, the only thing I have to say is yet another competition caution, and it's getting ridiculous at this point. Like, NASCAR should find a title sponsor for competition cautions if they're gonna have it at every race from now on. Like, I understand why we have them is because of to check tire wear and stuff like that, but either do something about those loose wheels, or give teams more time to practice so we can remove the competition yellows, because at this point, 30-minute practice sessions, 20 minutes practice sessions, that ain't it. Also, another ridiculous thing that happened, the pre-race show, that graphic about like parody potty or something like that, bro, that was so cringe as hell. I can't wait for NBC to take over, but to be fair, for all we know, NBC could make the same mistakes as Fox, so I'm not gonna be very optimistic about that. Anyways, Stage 1 showed us, just at the Xfinity race yesterday, that Phoenix has one of the most treacherous pit road pit road entries, as we saw the pit road speeding beginning already during the competition caution. 4 drivers sped during the first yellow flag pit stop, including the top 2 at the time, Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin. We saw this yesterday with Sam Mayer, that he sped 4 times in the Xfinity race the day before. And yeah, it's really crazy how things turn out. But yeah, Phoenix has a very, very tough pit entrance, and this showed it a lot in the Cup race. We got another loose wheel, this time Corey LaJoie. And if hitting the wall that hard causes a loose wheel, again, NASCAR needs to address the stuff. Again, the next gen car is fine. The only thing that I'm worried about are the single lug nut tires and stuff like that. So anyways, with Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin out of the way, William Byron cruised to win stage 1. And now something that I really saw, especially during the stage 2 restart, is a track position. It mattered a lot more than last week. As you've seen during stage 2, Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch, they stayed out during the stage 1 caution, and they stayed 1-2 for a good while on 15 lap older tires. Eventually Kyle Busch faded out, but Blaney held the lead up until a caution came out for a Christopher Bell spin. And speaking of Christopher Bell, he's just having a bad season. Like, everyone talks about Keselowski getting into an incident every race. No one talks about Christopher Bell, though. He's gotten into incidents like in every 4 races this season. We saw him getting involved into the big one at Daytona, or not the big one, the crash where Harrison Burton flipped. Then spin at Fontana, another spin at Las Vegas, another spin this time at Phoenix. It's been a tough start to the season for Bell. Another driver that's having a terrible start that I feel no one talks about is Harrison Burton. He was on that same strategy as Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch, but unlike them, he faded out pretty quickly, and he even fell, I believe, a lap down or 2, and even after he pitted with everybody else, he could not stay. He could barely hang on to the top 30. Just it's been a big struggle for Wood Brothers Racing, and I expected a next gen car to be like this big equalizer. So I didn't expect drivers like Harrison Burton struggle right out of the gate. Like right now, he's even worse than Todd Gilliland. Right now, and Todd Gilliland. And I say Todd Gilliland because I expected Harrison Burton. I expected him to be the worst rookie, but yeah, Harrison Burton, he's been surprisingly bad to start off this season. Now, I know the tire fall off doesn't matter as much at this track, which is why track position matter a lot. But the fact that the next gen car is a huge equalizer, the fact that tire fall off doesn't matter, it still makes it somewhat matter more than the Gen 6 car. But a lot of people were saying that, oh yeah, track position matters, but you still can't pass at this track. We'll get to that later because I have something very interesting to say that some people I found a few people actually agreeing with me. Anyways, speaking of the next gen car as well, we saw downshifting. A few drivers experimented with this throughout the weekend. Saw Larson doing it in practice. Saw Kevin Harvick doing it during the race. I think Joey Logano did that once. That he lost a couple of spots because he downshifted when he at a wrong spot on the track. I don't know. But yeah, it was a quiet day. Again, another quiet day for Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota. I expected after Las Vegas, I expected them to kind of feel like, oh yeah, after the Las Vegas race, JGR was back, and they were heading into Phoenix, which is one of JGR's better tracks. I expected them to continue that momentum, but no. Outside of Hamlin starting in the front row and running second for the majority of the and running second for the first 25 laps basically, and also that Kyle Busch strategy called after stage 1 where he also ran second behind Ryan Blaney, coincidentally enough. But yeah, outside of that, all of the Gibbs cars, they ran mid-pack for most of the race. The only stage points that Toyota got as a whole were a 6th place finish from Christopher Bell in stage 1. Those were the only stage points for Toyota in this race. Eventually, of course, the Busch brothers, they still finished top 10. Kurt Busch finished 5th, Kyle Busch finished 7th, but that was mostly because of a late race restart and them getting fresh tires. But Denny Hamlin, he still doesn't have any top 10s. He finished 13th. So it's been a struggle. Hamlin especially, this is one of his better tracks, and he faded out to... And after that speeding penalty, he just could never recover. He never touched the top 10 again until the very end. But then in that final restart, he got shuffled back by the guys that pitted for fresh tires, and he finished 13th. So tough start to the season for Hamlin. A long green flag run. We had a long green flag run to end stage 2, and this is where the racing got really tame, really stale. It was Blaney versus Elliott for the win, but Blaney won the stage as he got established himself by that point as the clear car to beat. And then in typical Ryan Blaney fashion, just like at Fontana, his pit crew gives him a slow stop that drops him to 5th. And don't think that this was just a one-time thing either, because during the next caution, another slow stop dropped him from 3rd to 9th. And what was that caution for? Martin Truex Jr. I believe he blew a tire. I don't know what happened. I think he blew a tire, but he crashed hard in coming up of turn 2. It reminded me of that Matt Kenseth crash from back from 2017 a little bit. But yeah, Truex was my pick to win this race, so I was pretty upset about that. And also, in my opinion, Truex was the best running Toyota up until that point, because Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, after they faded out, Truex, in the long run, Truex had like the best Toyota in the long runs, the only guy that had kind of a shot at a top 10. He was flirting with the top 10 here and there during stage 3. But overall, he was more of an 11th place car, if we're being honest, which is, again, shocking given his recent track record at Phoenix. But I even picked him to win, so I was pretty upset about that. Another one of the top dogs that ended up having trouble late in the race, Kyle Larson, with an engine issue, is taken out of the race. And after that Martin Truex crash, we got another long green flag run. This time it was the Chase and Chase show. Briscoe versus Chase Elliott. And again, it seems like every single week a different driver shows up. It was Tyler Reddick at Fontana, Ross Chastain last week at Vegas, and now Chase Briscoe at Phoenix. Notice how it's 3 different drivers during the 3 West Coast swing races. That was pretty cool. I thought the race would end under green, and then we had another late caution for Eric Jones once again. And we had a money stop. It came down to a pit stop. And again, these pit stops, even if they're still single log now, these pit stops are important because it was due to a pit stop that Kyle Larson won a championship, especially at Phoenix, because getting a good pit stop means that you gain track position since it's so hard to pass. So, Stewart-Haas Racing, they answered the call, and they put not only Chase Briscoe in first, but also Harvick right behind him in second. And Chase Elliott had a slow stop that pretty much his chances out of that pretty much took him out of the win. From that point forward, the three guys that battled for the win were, coincidentally enough, the three guys who had shown up during the West Coast swing: Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick. Three drivers that had never won a Cup race, three drivers to watch this season. Then we had another late caution for a Chase Elliott spin, and in the final restart, Briscoe held off both Reddick and Chastain for the win. Great job. Second first time winner this season. I gotta say, while I am happy about Chase Briscoe, I am also upset, but I am not upset at anyone in particular. I'm just more upset at myself and the fact that I didn't pick Chase Briscoe in the playoffs, even though I was still high on him and everybody was picking Briscoe to be in the playoffs. And the main reason I didn't have him originally in my playoff grid was because I still thought that Stewart-Haas Racing was rebuilding, and I thought it was going to be hard for them to go from a one-win organization to all of a sudden having two cars in the playoffs, locking themselves in the playoffs for wins, because the only guy I had winning entering this season was Harvick, and even then I had him winning like only a race or two this season. Aric Almirola and Chase Briscoe, I had them like in the playoff bubble, but they were gonna miss the playoffs because I didn't see them winning a race. I thought Almirola would have a nice bounce back season in his retirement tour, and Briscoe will make a valiant effort to try and make it on points, but overall will come up short. I really thought that was gonna happen. I really thought that was what was gonna happen with SHR, but now that Chase Briscoe has won, not only is it a pleasant surprise to me because I like Chase Briscoe a lot, but Stewart-Haas Racing's rebuild, it has taken a huge step forward because now they got another guy other than Kevin Harvick, of course, that can now compete for wins, that can now win races. We still need to see if if Briscoe can compete for wins at a weekly basis, similar to Harvick. But yeah, that's great to see. Stewart-Haas Racing, I wouldn't say that they're back, but they definitely took a huge step forward in this rebuild, quote unquote, that they have. Chase Briscoe, he also becomes the 200th different winner in the Cup Series and a second first time winner this season. Again, just like joining Austin Cindric in the Daytona 500. And I also saw a few facts about the race. It was pretty cool. We had Austin Cindric winning the Daytona 500, Chase Briscoe winning this week at Phoenix, and also on the same day Chase Briscoe won, Ty Majeski, he won, I believe it was some late model feature on Sunday afternoon. I don't know, but yeah, those three drivers, the same three drivers that drove that abomination of an Xfinity car in 2018, that was the 60 car, the 60 Roush car. Yeah, those three guys are now that they're no longer driving that abomination of a car, these three drivers are finding success in their own right. So that was great to see. Another thing that was great to see was a lot of young drivers up front. William Byron won stage one. Briscoe, Chastain, and Reddick fighting for the win. Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott, who looked like the car to beat for most of the race, as well as Chase Elliott. So the youth movement is in full force now. I remember back in 2018 that NASCAR promo that they had of young versus old. They weren't wrong in doing that, but I just feel like the timing was a bit off. Like, I feel like if NASCAR didn't use that young versus old promo back in 2018, now would be a great time to do it, because these young guns, they're really showing up. This is also the 10th consecutive Cup winner. This is also the 10th consecutive Cup race with a winner under 30 years old, dating all the way back to the fall Talladega race. The last time a driver over 30 years old won a Cup race, it was Denny Hamlin at Las Vegas, the Las Vegas playoff race. But ever since then, it's been Bubba Wallace, then Kyle Larson, Larson again. Then it was Alex Bowman, then Larson won the championship at Phoenix. And then this season it's been Cindric, Larson, Bowman, and now Briscoe. Also, speaking of other stats to take note of, Kevin Harvick. He finished in 6th after running top 5 for basically the whole day. He ended up finishing 6th. His 18th consecutive top 10 at Phoenix. He ties a Richard Petty / Dale Earnhardt Sr. record of most consecutive top 10s at a single track. It is worth noting that Richard Petty and Dale Sr., they did that at North Wilkesboro, and Harvick did it at Phoenix. Jimmy Johnson came pretty close. I saw in the graphic that they put that he had 17 consecutive top 10s at Martinsville. So Jimmy Johnson came pretty close, but Harvick is the one that gets the privilege to tie this historic record. Daniel Suarez finished 9th. It's worth mentioning because I like Daniel Suarez a lot. He could have had a shot at the top 5 if it wasn't for that last lap incident with Austin Dillon, but a lot of people are blaming either Suarez or Kyle Busch for that, and all I'm going to say is, it's a racing incident, come on. Kyle Busch held his line. Suarez was a bit loose coming off of on the front stretch, which is pretty weird how you get loose in the front stretch, but I mean, Kyle Busch held his lane, Suarez came down on him, and it's the last lap, so Kyle Busch is not going to lift. Suarez, he bumped Suarez, and Suarez got into Dillon. Dillon crashed out, and whatever. Ari Camirola's top 10 streak ends. He finished 12th, but even then, his worst finish of the season up until now is still better than Denny Hamlin's best finish of the season, which is a 13th. So again, there's another fun fact to you. Also, the rookies, they weren't so hot today. I mentioned Harrison Burton struggling all race long, but also Austin Cindric. He was outside of the top 20. He has this tendency to be to qualify in the top 10, but then fade out. This is becoming a trend ever since he won the Daytona 500, and it's starting to worry me because if this keeps on, then Cindric is going to be like one of those playoff fodder guys that just got a win and then just sandbag the rest of the season. I don't want Cindric to be like that. I want Cindric to at least be competitive. I don't have him like making the round of 12. I have him like as an early playoff exit. But I still want him to be competitive. I don't want him to be that one guy that sandbags the entire season. So to see him just run outside the top 20, getting lapped, even after posting these fast qualifying times, I just feel like Cindric, I don't know what's wrong with that two team at Penske, that they have a great short run speed and great qualifying times, but they're also but then on their long run speed they just fade out during the race. They need to fix that. Todd Gilliland though, he was another pleasant surprise to me. A top 20 run for that 38 Front Row Motorsports car for a rookie that is quote unquote inexperienced. Not bad. Also, speaking of the top 20 in points are separated by 51 points. There's still no clear best driver. The regular season title battle, I wouldn't say it's a crapshoot, but it's still up in the air. But overall, I had a lot to say honestly about this, about what I otherwise thought was a pretty tame weekend. Honestly, this was the first mediocre race of the next gen era, And the reason why, and this is something that I really wanted to get to, is because the reason. Traction compound, whatever. You already know how I feel about PJ1 at this point. I don't really like it when a track is chemically treated. Now I know the resin is better than PJ1 because it wears off faster, but I still prefer the track as is. Without the resin, I want the track to age naturally, make it less grippy, more slipping and sliding. I want to see more drivers. I want to see this race be decided more by driver talent than by track position, because I feel like track position matter a little bit too much for the next gen standards. It still matter less than compared to the Gen 6 because I felt you could still pass, especially over in the mid pack. But still, for a car that was supposed to quote unquote be more driver, to be more dependent on driver skill, it didn't feel like drivers were slipping and sliding. It felt like there was a lot of grip, especially in the long runs under green. So I want to see that. These drivers are professionals. Just let them race, let them slip and slide throughout the track. We saw that a lot at Fontana, and compared to that at Phoenix, we didn't see any incidents in practice at all. So that should have been a sign of things to come, of how this race would have gone. But overall, I'm gonna give this weekend a C. Just meh. Phoenix is not a championship venue worthy. It is still a unique track. I don't know why people say that it doesn't deserve 2 race days. Phoenix deserves 2 race days in my opinion, but it doesn't deserve to be the championship race. It's not a bad track. If I wish they stopped with this artificial resin or traction compound stuff, again, I wish they stopped that and they let the track age naturally so that we can see how the racing product differs from if you just chemically treat the track. I feel like it's gonna be night and day at this point, because look at a track like Auto Club, for example. I feel like Phoenix can produce some great racing if NASCAR just lets the track as is. Because, I mean, the restarts were exciting. Even with traction compound and all that, the restarts were really exciting. And this not only applied for the Xfinity race, but it also applied for the Cup race. So, yeah, that's about it. Now next week we're going to Atlanta, which, to be honest, I'm not really looking forward to that.